Warren Buffett, I think, keeps it straight by saying, invest in what you know. So don't just because something comes up as a good shiny object thing, like, oh,
Mhm.
this gets great returns, but you don't understand it. You should probably at least learn something about it before you just jump in and do it.
Mhm.
So as much as the things I'm talking about, the RV resorts, build to rent, whatever, they're all great, I think. But if you don't understand them enough, I'd say first do some research yourself, learn about it, understand it.
Are you looking to achieve massive success in your life without dealing with costly investment nightmares? If yes, then this is the podcast for you. Here, we provide engineers and busy professionals all the secrets and strategies to create multiple streams of income, build generational wealth, and live a meaningful life by design. Here's your host, Ted
Hey
Patel.
everyone, this is your host Ted Patel, and welcome to this week's edition of Decoding Cashflow Podcast. I'm here with Don Spafford, who is a general partner with Beyonder Holdings, Legacy Real Estate Holdings, and HBS Allstar Homes. He's also an investor relation manager for Simple House Capital Group, overseeing a business merger and acquisition fund. Don has 20 years of corporate finance experience and started investing in real estate in 2017. He has experience in multiple asset class, including build-to-rent multifamily, RV resorts, triple net retail, build-to-sell, business acquisition, and international hotel resorts. Wow, Dan, that's a mouthful of it. Yeah. You spread across many different assets. So we'd like to hear about, a little bit about everything. But before we go dive deep into those aspects, if you can give our listeners a little bit background about yourself, how did you get started in real estate, and what's your main focus as of now? And before that, welcome to Decoding Cashflow. It's a pleasure having you over here.
Yeah, thanks, Ed. I appreciate the invite to be on the show and to participate with you and your audience. Yeah, as you mentioned, it's kind of a lot going on, right?
Yeah.
I guess I've always kind of been that type where I like lots of things, so it's hard to say I'm going to do only one thing. I get bored maybe, so I like having lots of stuff going on and also diversification maybe. But more than anything, I'd say I'm opportunistic. So when I see really great opportunities, I like to obviously invest in them, but also be, if I can, find a way to participate in them because I think there's people just like me that are out there looking for better opportunities. What else is out there? And if I can help find them and bring them to people, then that makes me feel good knowing that I'm helping somebody else achieve their goals, right? So,
Yeah.
as you said, a little bit of my background. I currently live in Idaho Falls, Idaho, which is we're about maybe an hour and a half, less than 2 hours away from Yellowstone Park. So it's a really good, nice area.
Yeah.
I grew up most of my life though around Omaha, Nebraska. That's where I went to high school, college, and I actually with college I focused on finance, investing. I got actually four majors all around finance and investment science and portfolio management and accounting. So I was always very much into to numbers and investing. Essentially very young age, literally when I was 14 years old, I got my first job, and I would. This was kind of pre-internet days. I would get the newspaper, look at the stock quotes in the newspapers at that time to kind of keep up on what's going on in the stocks, right? So,
Mhm.
so I always had an interest in those kind of things. Um, what got me into real estate though was my wife actually became a realtor around 2012, and some of her very first clients were investors, and they were doing the BRRRR strategy at the time. This was in like 2011, 12,
Mhm.
and so houses were really cheap at the time, and so people were buying them in cash, fixing them up, and refinancing them, and when I learned what they were doing, it kind of just blew my mind that you could even do that. I was like, wow, I got to figure this out, because I saw the opportunity in real estate. I just didn't know how to do anything with it. And so these kind of got my mind thinking, and I started reading some books. And over time, I kind of realized though that I didn't really want to do like the flipping aspect of it. I wanted to more have the long-term holds for that
Mhm.
long-term rental income and then the wealth creation. Um, so I never pursued like flipping homes or even the BRRRR per se, because I realized even then I didn't want single family homes. I wanted to get into multiple units and multiple doors, just because I saw for me, I guess I considered it as lower risk, but not having a single door, single tenant, depending on if they leave, I got to cover the mortgage, or
Yeah.
if there's a major repair, then that wipes out the rent for the whole year pretty much. So I was like, yeah, multiple doors is the way to go. So as time went on, I bought my first property in 2017. Was a fourplex. I actually still own it today. I assume I'm right about that point. I want to actually list it for sale now, but I've already refinanced it once in the past to pull out some cash. I've done multiple things with that already, but that's kind of what kicked off the ball rolling in that
Hmm.
property in 2017, and then eventually got a few more, then starting into some other things like the triple net lease retail, and got involved with the build to rent, and then RV resorts and everything else I'm doing now, kind of all scaled from there. Mainly because I was trying to find, how I can do more. Because on my own, my resources were limited. I couldn't scale to the amount I wanted to be. Just trying to buy, things here and there. But once I got involved in some JV opportunities and later syndication opportunities, then I was able to do much more.
Hmm.
So what led me to all this, I guess, going back to your question, is why I got into real estate was more of, I was, with the job I had, again, as you mentioned, I was in a corporate finance position for almost 20 years. Um, and over, I'd say after the first 15 years or so, I was like, I don't want to do this forever. And but I didn't want to. I was like, already now nearing 40 years old. I was like, I'm. It's gonna be hard to, I want to go back to school. It's gonna be hard to even transition to a different job somewhere because I'm pretty much almost been this job too long. It's almost like, yeah, I don't really have, skills outside of the job I was doing. I'd say to be really of a demand for other positions. And so I was like, my options were limited, but I was like, so there's got to be a way to create other income streams.
Hmm.
And I don't think I was at the time creative enough to come up with a great product I could go sell, and I go on a Shark Tank or something. So I was like, I gotta, what else can I do? Okay, I can invest in real estate, and that can create some passive income, and I can start growing from there. Of course, the initial plan was, okay, I'll have enough to cover maybe paying for my kids' college tuition, maybe help care for my mother's medical care, and then eventually, could cover me leaving my job. So that was the goal when I first started. And To be honest, I was actually pursuing the FIRE movement. I'm sure people are familiar with that by now. I wanted to be able to retire early, but the job I had wasn't like such necessarily a high income, so I wasn't going to be able to save up, $1 million, $2 million in the next 10 years. That was never going to happen. So the best option for me was just to create that income, which I could
Hmm.
do by investing in real estate, which therefore requires a lot less money. I don't need to have 2 million saved up. I can, invest a lot less and create that same
Yeah.
amount of income. That was the goal anyway. So that's kind of why I pursued that, and um, took that. I guess we'll take that leap of faith in 2017, and then, within 5 years, I was able to leave my W-2 job to focus full time on real estate. That's kind of where,
Okay.
we got led to being here today.
All right, that's a great journey, you know. You started with a fourplex, then it was a side hustle for you, right? Because you already had a
Yeah,
full-time job at that point of time.
exactly.
And many of our listeners also, they do have like 9 to 5, and they want to get into real estate. So it's like, you have to spend some time, you have to start somewhere, a side hustle, and eventually after a few years you can start building those passive income. You cannot maybe for you it was just active passive income, right? Like active business because
Hmm.
you are the sole owner of the first
Right.
property. Because
Yep.
there are other avenues also, as you know, right? You can start building your passive income by investing in someone else's deals, joint
Yes.
venture. You don't have to be the sole owner every time.
Exactly. For me at the time when I started, though, I guess my maybe holdback was that I didn't know anybody.
Yeah.
There was I was not active on social media. I didn't go to big investing
Conferences.
networking
Yeah.
groups or something,
Mhm.
conferences and stuff, and I didn't know anybody doing syndications or commercial real estate. So I first didn't have any other option but to just go at it myself and start. This was, 2016 was kind of like looking 2017 when I bought that first property. Even back then, it doesn't seem that long ago, but there weren't a lot of podcasts. There weren't a lot of at least for what I saw, there weren't a ton of people out there doing syndications, things going on. It kind of quickly grew and exploded kind of shortly after that. Like 2019, 2021 is when everything kind of just really picked up a lot, and now, you see it everywhere. But back then, I was like, again, first of all, probably my fault for not being active on social media. But I didn't see anything. I didn't know anybody, and so I had to start somewhere, and that's what I could
Yeah.
do. Is like, I can do this. I read books, listened to the podcast that were available at the time, to kind of as my education to at least understand how to underwrite it properly, and know what they're getting into. And actually, even for my case, I used some, I guess, creative financing for that first property, being that I didn't have a whole lot of savings to go out and do something big. But what I did learn is I could borrow from my 401k. So I did that. Actually took a loan from my 401k for the down payment, and I used a local lender in my area that would do a 10% down payment on investment property. So I was able to get in this fourplex relatively for a small amount, almost no money taking me out of pocket. So I pulled it from my 401k, and of course, at the time, people I would talk to, close family friends, I'd say, hey, I'm gonna borrow from my 401k to buy this fourplex so I can start investing. And of course, people say you're crazy, you don't touch your retirement account. But I was like, for me, it was my only option really if I wanted to do it.
Yeah.
And two, I felt strong enough that this was going to pay out more than what I was making in my 401k anyway, so it was definitely
Yeah.
well worth it, which it definitely did. I was able to, I put that on a 5-year repayment plan, but I paid it off in 4, but that property in that first 4 years, I mean, it like doubled in value more than what my whole 401k account was worth anyway. So it was worth it for me to do that, to get started and be where I am today. That was, if I the hardest part for anybody, I think, is just taking that first step to get started. Once you get
Exactly.
past that fear and you do that first deal, then it's much easier after that.
Yeah, you just get to have taste of it, just get a taste of it, and then
Yep,
ball starts rolling for you. Yeah.
exactly. Yep.
And I see you have been, in multiple assets, right? Many different
Correct.
assets. If you like to give a
Yes.
little bit background on different kind of assets that you have been, and
Yeah.
which is uh, one of the best assets you like out of it. I know it's hard
Um,
to tell, it depends on
yeah.
age,
Well, I like,
it depends
yeah,
on, but what's your
I like
favorite
all of
asset?
them for
Let's
different
say that.
reasons, right? So,
Yeah.
so yeah, so of course I've got, as far as we'll say syndication level goes, I'm as you mentioned, that I'm a partner with Beyonder Holdings, which we purchase RV resorts, campgrounds, and marinas. I'm also with Legacy Wealth Holdings, which is a build to rent multifamily. Um,
Mhm.
Essentially, we build apartment buildings and hold them long term versus buying a value add. The Simple House Capital, we have right now have a business acquisition fund, so we're purchasing like service-based businesses like HVAC, plumbing, roofing, like those kind of things that are essential businesses that don't close for pandemics or things, right? They're always in demand.
Mhm.
In fact, it's funny because just within this last week, I've had to replace a furnace and 2 water heaters on a few different properties. So, it's things that are like, hey, this is a busy business, but um, but yeah, that's a great deal as well for steady long-term cash flow. That's purely a cash flow play more than anything else, and that's doing great right now for businesses. And then I also have the private lending option with HBS Allstar Homes. We build single family homes or townhomes communities build to sell. So we'll use private lenders to help fund these.
Mhm.
Pay those private lenders a great return on their loan. Build these up and get them sold relatively quickly. So versus like most syndications that kind of take a few years to really get a big payday. These kind of pay back pretty quickly. 6 months, 6 to 8 months at a minimum, to do like a single home and sell it. Or of course you can let that money in and roll it and keep it going for years to
Mhm.
come with great returns. And then aside from those, I'm on some GV deals I'm in. I've got the triple net lease retail building that I'm involved with. We just built it, I don't know, a year or so ago. And then I've got a couple ones we're kind of early phase trying to get off the ground. I've got some land that we'd like to build a medical office building. Actually, it's in a great location right next to a brand new assisted living center near a brand new high school. So great location for this. Just got to find the right people to help get it done. I don't have a lot of contacts in the medical office space yet, so I'm trying to find those people. So if someone's listening, reach out to me. I've got, and then I'm also trying to get off the ground a hotel resort in Costa Rica. That one's going to be a pretty exciting one once we get that going. A good friend of mine runs a tourism business down there with big groups of people he brings down. So he figured, instead of putting up in other people's hotels and Airbnbs that often he doesn't have enough rooms for people anyway, let's just build our own that we can kind of control and maintain, and you know control the quality of
Mhm.
it for the guests. So that's some work on that as well, trying to get the funding in place for that. But yeah, so I'm in all those things, and then of course I still have that fourplex of my own. I do some light property management in my area, and I've done some private lending myself. I've had a couple other fourplexes I've bought and sold. Flipped one house. My wife is also a realtor, so I work with her locally in the area. I'm not a realtor, but I help her
Mhm.
oftentimes with different things. So yeah, I keep busy. All things real estate related, we'll say. And yeah, again, hard to say which one I like more than another. They're all great for different reasons. I mean, there's some that are
Yeah.
strong in cash flow, some are strong on appreciation, some are strong on depreciation. Um,
Yeah.
quick cash versus long-term cash. They're all they're all great for different reasons to really say which I like best.
Yeah.
Um, I think once we get them off the ground and going, um, man, I really don't know. Again,
That's all
I hate to
right.
discriminate one versus the other, So
Yeah. No, no,
I just like the things that are like
yeah.
exciting and different. Like
Yeah.
this Costa Rica thing will be awesome just because it's it's adventurous, out in
Yeah.
Costa Rica.
Yeah,
Um,
everything has their own different pros and cons, right? So
yeah,
it's
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
yes. Similarly, like what we do is somewhat some couple of projects that you do, right? Build to rent multifamilies as
Mhm.
well as build to sell. We do the same thing over
Oh, okay,
here.
good.
We
Yeah.
do luxury single family spec homes we build here in New Jersey, as well
Okay.
as small multifamilies we build here in New Jersey.
Yeah.
And the other aspect is we do syndication for the other pro assets, multifamily assets and or
Yep.
commercial assets. But investors, the taste varies. Some of them, they want fast return. They don't want to wait for 5, 10 years. So the build to rent or build to sell is the best option for them.
Hmm.
Yeah, and some
Right.
of them they're okay, they have a long way to go. They are okay with taking the depreciation, all the tax
Exactly.
benefits. So they will
Yep.
invest in the long-term hold.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And
Yeah.
that's again, that's partly why. Well, first of all, for me, these are all things that interest me, right? They get me excited. So I
Yeah.
figured if I like it, there's probably somebody else that will as well. But also, when I talk to potential investors, I like presenting them options because again, not everybody can fit in the same box. I can't
Yeah,
say, hey,
exactly.
you, all of you, you're going to invest this one multifamily deal, and here's your returns. And that's it.
Yeah.
Not everybody's going to like that deal, right? So it's like now I can give them options. Okay, what's your objective? Are you looking for cash? Are you looking for depreciation? Are you looking for long term wealth? What's your goals and objectives? And then let's find you one of these deals that fit what you're looking to do, right?
Yeah.
So that way, I like having that option to present to investors. So that way,
Mhm.
they don't feel like they don't like the one deal I have, then they'll go find somebody else. Hey, I've got
Mhm.
a few different things you can choose from.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's
And
also why I get involved with these. Yeah.
all right. And I see you have been in general partner for many of these firms, right? So you might be mainly focused on the investor relationship side of it. I'm
Yes. Yeah.
like, and
Right.
these companies, where do they invest? Like, do they have specific areas or all over US, any states?
Yeah. So with Beyond Holdings, the RV resorts, we do look nationwide.
Okay.
We have right now several properties, mostly in the Midwest. Not intentional, but that's kind of where the best deals have come up so far at this point.
Mhm.
We've got also one we're working on right now, actually new development of a new campground out on the East Coast.
Mhm.
Um, but we look nationwide. I'd say preferably we prefer like the Sun Belt region just because it's easier to maintain year-round staff. When you have campgrounds that are in like cold states where you get winter sets in, a lot of your amenities have to shut down. People aren't playing in the lake during winter, so you have to let a lot of the staff go, and then you have to rehire them in the spring, and usually the same people aren't coming back because they go get different jobs, right? So Sun Belt region makes it easier to have those staff kind of keep year round, makes it easier. So we do prefer that, but again, we do look nationwide. The
Mhm.
build to rent is also, I'd say, well, not quite nationwide. Those are big projects that take many years to get done. So we're not
Yeah.
doing 20 of them at a time. We've got right now two going on, but we kind of focus on those. We want to focus on specific areas at the time when we're ready to do the deal. We don't want to say, hey, right now, let's say just for example, say New Jersey looks like the best market to go to, but we're not ready to build for another 3 or 4 years. By that 3 or 4 years comes around, maybe that's not the best market to invest in. So we'll wait until we're ready to start the next one to then kind of seek
Mhm.
where's the market trends heading, where's the best place to go, so that we're making sure we're keeping up or staying ahead of the curve, not coming behind when it's too late, right?
Mhm.
So that for that one, yeah, we I guess we're open to nationwide, but it's all dependent on what at the time is the best place to go.
Mhm.
Um, for business acquisitions, kind of mostly the Sun Belt region for right now to start off with on that fund as
Mhm.
well, for the HVAC and that kind of stuff. The build to sell houses, for right now, we're kind of focused on my area around Idaho and Utah. Eventually, we want to scale into other states as well. With my partner who's the GC on that. He'll make contacts with other builders in different states, and so we can get that coordinated. Right now, we're focused on this area to then later expand to other states.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's most of them
Also,
we're kind of all over the place, but
yeah.
but as you mentioned, luckily for me, my role in all these groups is mostly the investor relations side of things. So that gives me more flexibility to be able to obviously be involved with different things because if you're in the day-to-day operations,
Operationals, yeah,
you don't have
it
time
gets
to do
tough.
this other stuff, right? So
Exactly.
so I'm luckily not involved in the day-to-day operations. For me, that would feel too much like a job, so I don't want to have that. I prefer being the investor relations side, out talking to people, going to podcasts, right, and being involved in and being, I guess,
Mhm.
be the person to impact people's lives. So yeah, that's what
Mhm.
I do.
Yeah. So, like talking about any one of them, right? Build to rent or build to sell. Like, can you spend a few minutes to just uh, walk us through your typical deal structure in these segments?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the build to rent, the way we do it, and I've seen some other sponsors that have done build to rent in certain ways. In most cases, I've seen people do like a single family um, community. We'll say like a full subdivision of single family
Yeah.
homes to build to rent. We prefer to build like apartments or townhomes, big complexes. Typically with these, where the areas we go to, we're doing hundreds of doors at a time. So it's not like 30, 40, 50. We're like 400 to 600 doors at a time.
Mhm.
And of course, those are built over phases. You can't do them all at once. But what we do on these that are maybe is different from some others is that we intend to hold these long term with our investors. It's not like you're in, we're going to sell it in 10 years and you're out. The goal is to build these, get them leased out and rented, refinance them to be able to provide the investors their invested capital
Money back.
back. So
Yeah.
you just get 100% return of capital. And then if that point on, it's you're getting infinite returns from the cash flows. But typically, we will offer investors two options as far as like share classes. One where you can just let that appreciation grow over time. We'll say the next, say, 30 years, because obviously we say we don't intend to ever sell them. We won't hold them forever, but obviously at some point we probably will sell. I'd say most likely it makes sense around 30 or so years when it's time to replace the roofs and things. Let somebody else buy it as a value add now at that point, right? But if we hold them for 30 years, then that appreciation is going to just be huge, right, over that period of time. So somebody can let that sit and ride like their own retirement account or have like a trust that can live to their family. So that's one option. Or the other one is that we will, again, since these are done in phases and in sections, we can set aside a certain number of units where we can essentially refinance those every 5, 7, 10 years to pull out cash along the way, so people can continuously get new money, of course, tax free because it's a
Mhm.
refinance loan. They can take that money out and go back and keep reinvesting it into other projects, right? So that's kind of the goal on that we have, and also with our communities we're building. These are just for visual, I guess thought here is that these are not like big, um, well, I guess we'll say apartment complexes where all you have is buildings and concrete. These are a lot of open green space. These are oftentimes 50 to 100 acres of land where we have
Mhm.
walking trails all around the property, splash pads, playgrounds, all kinds of great amenities that make it feel like a full-on community that people want to live in. Oftentimes these could be gated communities as well, so you have a kind of like a privacy, kind of high-end feel, without being outpriced to live in like in a mansion in the area that looks like that. So
Mhm.
so that's kind of what we focus on with that.
Mhm.
So again, it's kind of more for that long-term investor. But again, the plan is you get your money back still, which is great, and then you still get
Yeah.
that appreciation and cash flow going forward forever.
Yeah.
Um,
And when this deal comes in, right? Uh, build to rent, it's only the land that's in your hand at the first place. So how
right.
do you plan out, like, get like get the investors in?
Mhm.
Do you get the investor in before the land is entitled or after it is entitled? And during that, after you get the money, what's the distribution till uh,
Yeah,
it gets refinanced or it gets rented? Can you,
sure. Yeah,
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 if you
yeah.
can
So
walk us
so
through
so
that phase.
so
Yeah.
typically, well, first of all, we're finding land at an amazing value to start with, right? We're typically
Hmm.
not going buying a broker listed piece of land that's probably overpriced. We find them off market first of all.
Hmm.
So yeah, we'll typically bring in. We've got I guess, two phases for investors. Well, those come in that early phase, like I said, for that land, which is kind of the longer process to get everything entitled, permitted, approved, and everything. Possibly the higher risk part, we'll say, right, in case something doesn't get approved, which in most cases that's never been an issue. But so those investors come in early in the early phase, and we'll offer them, some kind of special deal for coming in that early. They'll, essentially a higher piece of equity or some other benefit
Yeah.
for being in early, right, versus the ones coming later.
Yeah.
And then so we'll go through that full process to get it, fully entitled, ready, shovel ready. At that point, we'll essentially bring in new investors for that next construction phase, and they'll, of course, will have a different return profile than those early investors. In some cases, we may even bring in new investors to buy out those first investors, and then go forward if people don't want to be in the full time. Additional thing that we pursue on our deals, and the two we have right now is the case is what we have. We also seek for tax incentives from the city. So we're not just building a property, and I mean, again, they're going to be great without it, but they're even better when we get these tax incentives. We're essentially tax rebates that can offset a big amount of I guess cash that we'd be paying for taxes otherwise that can go back to investors for cash flow. So that's, we seek for that to make these deals even better. We almost, I'd say 99% require that to be part of the deal to make it happen. So that's a big part of it as well. So yeah, so basically you get those early investors coming in for the land entitlement phase, again, which can be a couple of years or more that could take in some cases, especially when to wait for the government to go through the tax approval stuff. That's even additional step, or in some cases even for applying for a HUD loan as well to make it even better deal. So that's all take time. And then of course the construction phase, depending on the deal, again, typically takes about, if we're building again like 600 doors, we might do 200 doors at a time. It takes about more or less, we'll say 70 or 80 doors per year. So about 3 years to build 200 doors, get them leased out in that fourth year, then fully rented that fifth year before we're refinancing that phase. But once we finish that first phase, we're already starting on the next phase for construction. So it's always kind of overlap as far as when we start one versus when it's refinanced later. But yeah, so we'll typically bring in two phases, and sometimes that full construction phase by that point, when we're ready, again, it's 100% shovel ready. That's when usually the big money groups, your family offices, private equity groups, that's when they're ready to step in, and they'll typically fully fund those deals. They just don't want to be in the early phase because it's too much risk, right?
Yeah.
Once it's shovel ready, then sure, yeah, take our money. But we try to keep it open for we'll say everyday investors like you and I, like your listeners, to get in those early phases, because that gives them that great opportunity to get these kind of great deals that they may not otherwise get into.
And
as far as the build,
how does the distribution work on these deals for investors?
Sure. So obviously during that entitlement phase and construction phase, there's no distribution because there's no cash flow to pull from. It's once we get those built out and start to get them leased out and then they start cash flowing, then we'll start paying out those distributions to investors. Obviously that first the pre-refinance, that cash flow is going to be higher, so they'll actually get a good amount of cash flow in that during that fourth, fifth year once it's leased out and rented. And then we'll do the refi. Of course, that cash flow is going to go down, but if you're getting 100% of your money back, you've got infinite returns at that point. So even if it's going down, hey, that's still essentially free money. It's going to go up over time. It'll continue to grow. Each year rents will go up. And again, we're not going to hold these for 5 and 10 years. We're going to hold them forever. So those rents will go up over time, but also again, the option is there to refinance every 5, 7, or 10 years and pull out new money along the way. So that's, for me, that's a great opportunity, because like, hey, I'm getting that next extra bonus money every so many years to go and keep reinvesting that and growing your income and wealth too. So, and of course, when we have these multi-phase projects, if somebody has the capabilities, they can reinvest into each phase and multiply that return even more so. So it's quite incredible the amount, because compared to a value add multifamily where you're essentially buying most of the value there anyway, you're just adding more to it.
Yeah.
In this case, you're creating that value, right? You come to that raw land, then you have to get rezoned and everything, and then just even that phase before you even built anything, you've already added value just from getting it entitled, right?
Yeah.
And then everything you build above that, so there's a huge amount of appreciation that can be had just from creating it, from building it from the ground up versus buying existing and trying to improve it. So yeah, a huge amount of value created there for those that are willing to wait to get it.
Yeah, absolutely. And For, uh, as you mentioned earlier, right? You're mainly into investor relationship, uh, making sure you vet these deals before you present it to the investors, right? So any specific criterias that you look into it, like when you vet the
Yes,
deals before presenting it to any investors, just if you can elaborate on that, what are the
sure.
things that you make sure?
Yeah, yeah. Well, like I said, for me, if it doesn't get me excited, first of all, then I'm not presenting it to somebody else. So
Yeah.
that's kind of why I'm not involved with too many other kind of opportunities because if the returns are low,
Mhm.
it doesn't get me excited. I'm not going to be excited to share it with somebody else, right? So first of all, I'd say the returns got to be high. I'm looking for double-digit cash on cash at least, right? So minimum say 12 to 20% average cash on cash is what I'm looking for, kind of minimum.
Mhm.
Um, so depending on the deal, of course, that's kind of the criteria for we'll say a standard cash flow deal. Of course the build to rent, you're not going to get that level of cash flow right off the bat, but that's more of like, okay, well, there's also this huge upside potential. So if we're looking at, you know, 20, 30, 40% plus IRR, that's also can offset if I'm not getting great cash flow, at least initially, but I'm going to get a huge,
At the back
huge
end, yeah.
overall return right on the back end, then that makes up for it for
Yeah.
me. So again, looking for high cash flows or high, either average AAR or IRR, however you want to look at it.
Mhm.
Um, where it can get more than just doubling my money in 5 years. That's to me, 2x in 5 years isn't that exciting. That's better than being a bank, but at the same time, I could probably invest in the stock market or Bitcoin or something else and do better than that, right? Um, so I don't like those just 2x or less deals, which I've seen lots of them. Sometimes like 1.5x for 5 years. Like that's I don't know.
Mhm.
I would never. It doesn't
Yeah.
doesn't get me excited at all. Even they want to take my time to
Mhm.
look at it, right? But so for me, it's got obviously as you mentioned the if I'm presenting to people, I first of all need to know the team well or who I'm working with, right? I'm not just Joe Schmo comes brings me a deal. Say, hey, I've got this great deal. It's going to have 30% cash flow and 100% IRR. Go raise money. I'm like, well, I don't know who you are. I don't know if I could trust you. I don't know what I'm selling here.
Yeah.
So I got to, of course, know the team, which is why I align myself with people I know to start with well, to then even get that point of where I'm a general partner with them. It's like I got to know them well enough to um, because obviously as I'm going out there raising capital, I become the face of that company or that group, whatever,
Yeah.
whether they know the other people or not. I'm representing them, so therefore they're trusting me to invest in those groups. So even if those groups do poorly, and I have, I'm not in the day-to-day operations to control what's happening necessarily, but that still reflects on me. So if people like, well, if this deal goes bad, it's going to make it hard for them to want to invest with me of something else, even if it's a totally different asset.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure as best I can that the people I'm working with have the experience, knows what they're doing, um, and can kind of show that yes, those returns are possible. That's not to say that every deal is going to go perfect because you can't ever guarantee that. Something at some point is going to not work out right, but you do the best you can to help control that and minimize the risks, and of course, try to provide communication. And of course, investors want to know good or bad what's going on. I try to provide at least monthly updates, to what's going on with the different projects where we're at, and um, so yeah, definitely I want to at least know and understand as much about the deal itself, and of course the team I'm working with when I talk to investors. Because honestly, yeah, that's come up many times. People say, "Well, I know you and I trust you, but I don't know them." So I got to kind of help tell them about my team, who they are, what their past is, what they look like. It's like, hey, if you want, we can get on a call with them
Yeah.
too. No big deal. But
Yeah.
but yeah, sometimes that does come up. So it's good to
Yeah.
know who you're working with too.
And what are the main what's your main strategy to build a funnel for the investor, like attract the investors? What are your main
Yeah,
strategies?
yeah. Well, that's the hard thing. That's the golden ticket there. But um, so it's I'd say it's something that evolves over time, right? When I started out, it was I didn't honestly when I started, I had zero contact connection. Like I said, I wasn't on social media. I had to kind of build all it up on myself before I even got to that point where I could do that. So I kind of had that intentional focus to kind of build a following, build up investor list before I even got involved with any of these deals. And so I did that by a big part of that was networking. Just going to a lot of meetup events, virtual or in person, get to know people, let them know who I am, about me, what my past is, what I'm looking to do, and then from there, just kind of continuously education. I think I do a lot of posting on LinkedIn. I've actually toned it down in the last years because I've been busy with multiple things going on. I haven't been able to post as much as I used to, but I especially early on can build up that contact list. I would post at least once a day, Monday through Friday, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day, and oftentimes not even anything really about deal specific, just kind of more generic information, right? Like, why invest in real estate? The benefits, tax benefits, why I like this asset class, kind of just general stuff like that people can learn from, because, oftentimes we think we've been doing this long enough, everybody knows everything, but there's a lot of people that are just brand new that don't understand what is IRR, what is equity multiple, so you kind of get that education. Then after a while, I've been surprised. I've had many people that have said, "Hey, I've been following you for a while. I like what you've been talking about. I'd like to talk and learn more and invest." So those comes up just like that. So you got to be consistent to be posting regularly, because even if we'll say the man of the hour right now, everybody knows who you are, what you're doing. You stop being active for a month, people forget. Like they'll like, oh, then some other new deal will pop up. Oh, I want to go invest in that, and then a month later, oh, you should have talked to me. I had a great deal. It's better than that. But like, oh, they forgot because you're not on top of their mind, always in their feed. So you got to be very active on social media for sure. And then of course, if you have them on a contact list or CRM, try to reach out as often as you can too, through emails, texts. Basically, you got to be present. Unfortunately, that's the way it is these days. You got to be always on somebody's mind. I tell the same thing with my wife. Again, she's a realtor, so it's like, if you're not always, and on the top of people's lists, seeing who you are when they're ready to buy a house, they might not even call you, even though they know you're their neighbor. But it's like, oh yeah, I forgot you're a realtor, because the moment they find a house, they'll call whoever's on the sign, and that's it. So you got to always be at the top of people's mind, which is why, for me, partly also why I like doing these things I do. They're kind of unique and stand out. So when people think of, oh, I want to invest in an RV resort, I'm usually the only one that they come around because they see me talking about it. It's not out there like a million other, say, multifamily deals or something. So I can stand out for that reason, for having unique opportunities that I try to talk about and post about. So that way, hopefully people remember when they're ready, they're interested in something like that, they'll contact me, or they'll refer somebody else to me that they're talking about it. So for me, honestly, I think that helps a lot too, is just having something unique. What makes your deal different and unique than everybody else's, So try to find whatever you can about your deal, even if it is an average cookie cutter deal. What's unique about that deal, that why somebody invest in that versus something else, and try to focus on that and get people to realize that it's the best decision for them at the time.
And any specific CRM softwares or anything that you use just to keep track or get in touch with,
Yes, yeah. So I guess, fortunately or unfortunately, I guess, with different groups I work with, each of them have their own CRM systems.
Yeah.
I've never really used my own, just mine. We'll say that, to go out to everybody. So it's kind of more involved with each of them. But honestly, for me, when I started out, it was just basically Excel. I'd take people's information, keep them all in Excel. Then I could contact them that way through email. If that's what you got, that's use it. But for some of them, we use Active Campaign is one of them. HubSpot is honestly a good option to go with if you want to start off, in a really decent platform at an affordable price, or free, I think, even. I'm actually about to start using another one, because my wife, again, is a realtor. She actually just got one for herself that comes with an extra one. I'm like, I'm gonna test it out. I'm gonna use it.
Okay.
And I honestly don't remember the name of what that's called, but it looks pretty decent. I'm gonna use it and then try it out and see if it's gonna be a good one for me to even use, and I can recommend it to others as well. But yeah, I know people use all kinds of different things. I say as the usual way goes, like, whatever you use is the best one to use, right? So as long as you use it, because it doesn't matter what you have the best thing out there, but if you don't use it, then it doesn't matter. If you have Excel and you use it, then keep with it. But yeah, I do like having some automations where you can, like on Active Campaign, for example, you can set up automatic, email drip campaigns and other things, and autoresponders. Those are definitely helpful versus just Excel. But again, we're depending where you're at in your journey. Having something is better than nothing. So
absolutely. All right. Hey, Don, loving the conversation, but would like to be mindful of your time also, so sure. We'd like to move to the final round of questions. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's go for it.
All right. Okay. So, which is the one book that you'll recommend which has the most impact on your life or on your business?
Oh, well, life and business. I'd say there's
Any one of them. Yeah.
two honestly, but for business, I'd say probably I have to go back to the first book that really helped me with understanding real estate investing, which was the Millionaire Real Estate Investor. I read that. That's the first book I read about real estate investing. It helped me to at least understand more about the way it works, how to kind of more or less do your
Mhm.
calculations on properties and know what kind of cash flow they're going to create and things. So that was probably the first book that really got me interested, motivated to really get into it and learn more. Um, so that was I'd say for business wise. Of course, I've read many other great ones since then, but that was the first one I think that really got me off on the right way. As far as personal, I'd have to go with the Book of Mormon, and it's of course a religious book, but I'm it has helped keep my life in line
Mhm.
many times where I would have done something stupid and probably not where I'm at today. But having a solid foundation on faith is a big impact for me, which also helps keep me. I think why a lot of my investors trust me and like me because they know that hey, I'm not here to scam somebody or take their money or take advantage of the situation because I'm trying to be fair in all of my dealings because God is first for me. So uh,
All
yeah.
right. Okay. What are your main source of information to learn and grow?
Still learning. So I do well, obviously podcasts is still a big resource. I still read a lot of books. It's funny because as a kid I hated reading, but as soon as I got into real estate and stuff, like I read books a lot now. So I've got a stack of books. Like oh, I got to read that one. So I order them ahead of time and try to get through them as best I can. I've been reading right now the one called Nine Figure Mindset. It's a really good book about more business related, but
Mhm.
I've got a few others here that I've got to read to. One about raising capital, even. So I do a lot of book reading and of course podcasting, networking, um, and following people on LinkedIn. I still learn from people, my peers. So yeah.
All right. Okay. All right. What is the best business or investment advice you like to give to our listeners?
Um, I think I'll stick kind of again growing up in Omaha, Nebraska was basically next door to Warren Buffett and kind of learned from him. And then I've actually been to many of the Berkshire Hathaway shareholder meetings. Warren Buffett, I think, keeps it straight by saying, invest in what you know. So don't just because something comes up as a good shiny object thing, like, oh,
Mhm.
this gives great returns, but you don't understand it. You should probably at least learn something about it before you just jump in and do it.
Okay.
So as much as the things I'm talking about, the RV resorts, build to rent, whatever, they're all great, I think. But if you don't understand them enough, I'd say first do some research yourself, learn about it, understand it. Talk to me, talk to other people that are in the
Yeah.
industry and the business. Um, read read books, the podcast, whatever you
Yeah.
can to at
Yeah.
least learn something about it before you just jump in and invest in it. So
Yeah, absolutely.
you want
Educate
to know what you're
yourself
what you're
before you
getting into.
start investing.
Yes. Mhm.
All right. Which is one of the habit that had a crucial impact in your success?
I would definitely say networking. Um,
Okay.
you know, you may not get this from this meeting here today, but I still am very much an introvert. Right, I've always
Okay.
been very much introverted. So getting out and talking publicly or meeting with people, talking with strangers, uh, was and I'd say still is a challenge. Right, so I'm not somebody can carry a conversation. That's not me. But early on, the networking is what helped a lot of that. I had to get out of my shell, get start talking to people, and that was really what impacted me a lot. I spent like that first full year before I was in any deals. I was just going to these networking events like literally every day of the week, virtual meetups, sometimes in-person meetups, but these virtual meetups were great because that helped me to meet a lot of people, learn from them, ask questions from them. People were more experienced than me at the time, and kind of feel like because at first early on it's like I felt like I'm a nobody. I've done some deals, but I'm not I'm not some major thing. So I was like I felt honestly honored to be in presence of a lot of those people. I was like, hey, you guys have done 20 deals or whatever. Like that's amazing. I can't believe I'm talking to you right now. So it really helped me to kind of build my confidence in myself. Help me to learn from them from a lot of times they'd share their mistakes or things they're doing.
Mhm.
Um, great place you could ask questions, things you'd essentially pay a lot of money to have a mentorship coaching. You could go and ask for free, on these meetup events, right? So, so that helped me a lot. That first year, I was literally going to I don't know, 10 or so meetups a week. And then I still, as I can now, I have less time, but I still go to them when I can, because I still like to interact with people, meet new people, kind of now myself be that person that can help somebody new, or still, again, talk to people who are now my friends. These people were at that point maybe my idols I looked up to are now my friends. So I get to hang out with them, have a fun conversation for a time. But I said networking was a huge thing that helped me a lot, and I think people need to spend more time on that.
Yeah. That's what I always say is, your network is your net worth. So
Exactly.
make sure you connect with more and more people as much as you can. All right. Final question, Don. How can Decoding Cashflow listeners get in touch with you?
Boy, LinkedIn is probably the best resource. I'm active on there. You can contact me. In fact, you can even directly schedule a Zoom call right from my my profile. So definitely do that. Of course, you can also find me on go to our one of our websites, beyondercamp.com. Get a hold of me that way. But I think LinkedIn is probably the best way just to find me. Connect with me there. Let's set up a call and talk.
All right. Sounds good. All right, Don, it was a pleasure talking to you, and we will stay in touch.
Yeah, likewise. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Decoding Cashflow, brought to you by Allstar Capital. If you found value in this episode, then please share it with someone who you think could benefit from it. And make sure to act on what you've learned. If you want Ted Patel to personally help you reach your goals, then feel free to set up a one-on-one call with him. Also, visit us at allstarcapital.com for more free resources. Content of this podcast is for informational purposes only. As always, please consult your own advisor before making any investment decisions or setting a course of action. Thanks again for joining us on this episode of Decoding Cashflow, and we'll catch you in the next episode.